Kent Martz here. Welcome to First Light. I guess it jumped in too early. Hey everybody, Kent Martz here from Explore Scientific. Welcome to First Light Chronicles. I get a 3, 2 and count it in, and I guess I just didn't hesitate quite enough. But welcome to the show today. I want to talk about, and this is interactive, I want people asking questions about the Artemis. I probably can't answer any of them, but let's talk about it. I know it was exciting to watch the rocket sit there and, outgas and, and then, get held. And once that held happened, I knew it was probably not going to get launched. The next launch is coming, what, Saturday? Would that be right? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday at 2:07 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So it'll be well up into Saturday and here in the Western Hemisphere for us to watch. It's got a 60% chance of good weather as of right now, and the forecast is for scattered showers, which should not interfere with the launch window. But the change in launch windows took it from a 42-day mission to a 37-day mission. It gets to be some complicated geometry changes, the durations of the mission. And for those of you who followed and remember the Apollo missions, those Apollo missions were not nearly as long as this mission is going to be. They're going to be testing out all sorts of systems and really putting the spaceship through its paces. And one thing they're looking at is they have two, they call them shadow astronauts, or they're mannequins, and one of them has sensors to determine how much radiation a woman's body is going to absorb. Now, this is interesting to me because, women have a different impact for long-term space than men do, because they can get breast cancer and their reproductive tract are very sensitive to radiation. And so yesterday I saw something about the vests that they are going to test on future missions to limit the radiation exposure to the torso of women, especially to protect the reproductive tract. So interesting science there. I was thinking back, why is the Artemis 1 mission not manned when the first Apollo missions actually launched were manned? Because it's a fairly easy answer. Because every Apollo shot did not have the remote operational capabilities that the Artemis 1 has. So the Artemis 1 is a very autonomous and easy to control aircraft. They did not have that ability computer-wise or communication-wise back in the 60s and early 70s.
You look on your screen, Ken. I've got the website pulled up.
Yes, yep, there you go. So, Synthil says hi, howdy, and the dad frequency says yellow. Appreciate you joining in. So, the Artemis mission has everybody excited. I would love to go down. We were in Florida for spring break a few years ago, and there was a couple of launches and just didn't happen. And we weren't down there for a launch, but we were close enough we would have seen it, but we could have stayed, because one of them we could have stayed one more day and saw a launch, except that it didn't launch that next day. And that becomes the problem with trying to catch a launch. There's all sorts of things that can cause the launch to be stopped and aborted, and in this case it was a system in one of the engines that caused it. And they want to make sure a leak of whatever it was, they wanted to make sure that the spacecraft is not going to be lost. It's a huge investment, but sooner or later, space is a very harsh place, and the routine becomes routine, as we saw in the space shuttle. But the General Services Administration back in the 60s said that the space shuttle would have 2 catastrophic failures every 100 launches, and they pretty well nailed that. So, sooner or later, we just have to come to terms with the fact that people are willing to climb on top of a rocket and not come back. Just like people were willing to climb onto a ship and sail west from Europe and never be seen again, or sail south around the Horn of Africa and never be seen again. It's the same sense of exploration. You know, what's on the other side of that hill, just taken to an extreme. So,
Right there. Saturday, September 3rd.
yeah, Saturday, September 3rd at 2:17 p.m. Right. Somebody ask some questions. Let's have a conversation, would you please? So a little bit of information. I was looking up and reading the locations that they're looking at on the south, almost said celestial pole. I'm so used to saying celestial pole, the south lunar pole, and why they're looking. I think it's either 13 or 16 spots that they're looking at. And the protocols that they're trying to find are places that are in the sun for 6.5 days, because that's the duration of the mission that's actually going to be on the moon. So they're looking for a place that's going to have sunlight for 7 days, basically. Yeah, go ahead.
So,
the question I have is, do you think those are the boosters from the old space shuttle launches?
They're solid rocket boosters.
Do you think they're the used ones, or are they new ones?
I suspect they're using new ones. They're going to be reused. You know, those from the space shuttle would become so old that material sciences probably would not want to continue to use those. They were not. You know, those were eventually reused. But that's an interesting question. We'll have to Google it real quick. You're sitting there and have access to a...
I can't do that and run the website stuff.
All right, I'm gonna search for it real quick. We have a question. Let's just see. Let's see. I know I'm excited watching me type. Didn't get very much in that search.
Osmosis says,
Not getting very much.
very similar boosters. See that?
Hang on. Let's see. Here's a story about it from space.com. Artemis 1 mission using space shuttle used parts. Components that previously threw on 83 of the 135 space shuttle missions have been assembled into this SLS and its Orion spacecraft. Yep, the boosters are from the space shuttle program. Which, you know, think about it, that's a great way to hold down cost, right? Because they're reusing things. The main engines on Artemis are from Mike Wiesner. The main engines on Artemis were used on space shuttle flights. And something that, if you don't know where Artemis comes from, Artemis is Apollo's twin sister. And there you go. It's a very interesting selection of names, because Apollo went to the moon and now Artemis is going to the moon as well. Apollo's twin sister. It's going to be exciting to see it launch. It would be cool to see it and feel it at the launch pad. You know, one of these days I'm going to get down and see a launch. Has to be pretty cool to just experience that. The dead frequency, I thought they reused most of the body but replaced the engine nozzle plates. I suspect that's correct. You know, it was there's some parts you don't want to reuse because they burn up, become brittle. I mean, imagine the stress temperatures that those nozzles had to withstand, and that would be a challenge. So, you know, the 6.5 day mission, so they have to pick a place at the south lunar pole that is going to have sun for 7 days, 6.5 days, but also close enough so they can moonwalk into portions of craters that don't ever see sunlight. So they're going to investigate for presence of water. specifically. And the question is why? Because water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen, and therefore, it's real simple. You can break it down into hydrogen and oxygen, which are rocket fuel, right? As well as you can drink it, and as well as you can breathe it. So Beatrice Hines is on with us, and Mike Overacker is on with us as well. Thank you very much for everybody joining. Join the conversation with you about the Artemis program.
What else were you going to talk about? You said something else.
Yeah, I'll get there in a minute. So if any of you have ever seen a launch, weigh in. It would be interesting to see if anybody there has launched and give us a perspective on what the power is like. You know, feel something that's so powerful that you know, you can feel it inside your body from miles and miles and miles away. And the sound and the glory of it just have to be magnificent. So I find that science of, and the, you know, how do you pick and narrow it down and narrow it down? And my understanding of the 13 sites that they've selected is each one is based on a specific launch window. So as launch windows change through Artemis 3, the first one that's going to land, as launch windows change, that changes the landing spots available to them because of the rotation and orientation of the orbit, rotation of the moon, all that stuff. So it changes the orbital mechanics to where they can land. So they have multiple sites. And one of the criteria, and this is brilliant, is you want to be able to land close enough to a perpetually dark crater that you can be moonwalk distance, but you also don't want to be so close that you disturb what is in that perpetually dark crater. That way you can literally peer over the edge with a flashlight and see something that has never been lit up before. And what they're going to discover in there is going to shape the future of what future moon missions and a mission to Mars is going to look like. Hello, Beatrice. Thank you for the shout out. So ask some questions, make some comments. I'd appreciate that very much so I don't sit here and just rattle on by myself. We do have the Arizona Dark Sky Star Party and Oracle Dark Sky Cultural Festival coming up in a few days, September 21 through 25 in Oracle, Arizona, just northeast of Tucson. It's going to be a great time. The community of Oracle has embraced this event astoundingly. Events all over, music, food, cultural entertainment, art. This is going to be a spectacular event to be part of the founding of it. You will, as an attendee to the event, there are events that are exclusive to the members of who are registered for the Arizona Dark Sky Star Party and public events as well. The DAD frequency, I compare a rocket launch kind of comparable to a top field dragster launch. Both sounds are percussive and awesome. Mike Wiesner, I saw an Atlas launch from KSC, Kennedy Space Center, in the late 1960s. Mike was a fighter pilot in the early 70s, and that put him in proximity to a whole lot of cool stuff right there. Mike Wiesner, you'll get to meet him at the Arizona Dark Sky Star Party. Still time to register. You can get out there. And I actually last week looked at flights, and flights from in Northwest Arkansas to Tucson are not bad at all. I was surprised. I mean, within the scheme of things, right? Everything's more expensive. But come down and join us. Plenty of room to register. We would love to see you down there. And we're close to announcing the dates for the 2024 and 2025 events. We're going to head, and because Oracle is embracing this so much and it's going to become an annual event, we want to go ahead and get those dates out there. We'll be having a meeting tomorrow to discuss those. Mike Wiesner, when I was working on the space shuttle program in the mid-1980s, I was scheduled to go to Florida for the next launch after the Challenger mission that failed. so I never got to go see one launch. That's something that I wish I would have done. My wife and I talked about it, and we just never did it. And today, you make your choices and you live with them. I wish I would have done that. I want to make sure I see an Artemis launch while we can. So it would be cool. There was I knew an astronaut, had met an astronaut that was from Arkansas, and he was a veterinarian, and he was scheduled to fly into space on a shuttle mission and got bumped by someone named John Glenn. John Glenn bumped him, and somebody had to give up their seat, and it turned out to be him. And he says, it's sort of a bummer, but it was John Glenn. So, and he never got to fly because of that. Mike Overacker, when I first saw Mike's comment, I thought it said KFC. Mike, you must be thinking about chicken. So there you go. Arizona Dark Sky Star Party, September 21 through 25. We also have the Mount Wilson Star Party coming up in October. I believe the event is on Friday, October the 7th. I did not write the date down, but it's that Friday in October at Mount Wilson in Los Angeles. Still room to get in if you want to go. We will be using the historic 60-inch telescope, and we're going to be looking at planets and some other dark sky objects. It's going to be the planets through that are going to look absolutely astounding. I've never been up there before, but Scott says those of us on the trip are going to be astounded looking at planets and other things through this ginormous telescope. You can sign up for both of them on the Explore Scientific website. You can just go to it, and if you type in on the search bar Arizona Dark Sky, it'll pop up, and if you type in Mount Wilson, it will pop up as well. Still room for both. The Arizona Dark Sky Star Party has effectively unlimited, within reason, and room. We plan in the future that it's going to expand significantly and get up into the 100, 150 range would be about all we can handle, we think. The Mount Wilson one is scheduled for a very limited number of people. I believe it's 25, and there's still room to get in there. Come join us in Los Angeles. You're going to have a great time. It also entails a tour of the Huntington Gardens and Library. And then if you want to pay to take the garden tour, you can pay to take the garden tour. But the going into the library is part of the package from the Mount Wilson Star Party. Be all-day events on Friday, so we're really looking forward to that and seeing everyone there. I am going on that event, so come so I can meet you. Mike says, I will be happy when I can start traveling again. Mike, we want you to be able to start traveling again, too. It's quite a challenge for some people, and it's still, a scary time. I think you just, like anything else, you weigh the options. When you get in your car, you don't think about the possibility that, something terrible could happen. You just sort of accept that as just run of the mill, and you take the precautions, you drive safely, and you drive defensively, and I think you travel defensively the same way. You just plan. Now, if medical things are getting in your way, that's a whole nother story, Mike. Let's see. So what else do we want to talk about? Been going on for 20 minutes now. There's some pictures of the Huntington Library and Gardens. Scott says it is a truly astounding place with all sorts of gardens, Japanese gardens and everything else. I look forward to seeing that as well. And after that tour, I won't be leaving until the Sunday morning. So I've got to figure out what I want to do in the afternoons. I've always been fascinated by the La Brea tar pits. And you look at it on the map, it's just right there in the middle of town. But I don't know what else I've got, presidential libraries really don't spin my propeller much. I've been to
all the airplanes.
Well, if it has all the airplanes, how am I going to fly out there?
It's got the because they decommissioned Air Force One right after Reagan left office, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
it's in there, and you can walk through it, which is really cool.
Oh, the Dad Frequency asks, what's the best place to look up what to see in the night sky lately? There's all sorts of apps on your phone can do it. We actually sell, Paul, call up that planisphere, would you please? We actually sell a planisphere on the website, the Wiltarian double-sided planisphere. Yeah, we sell a planisphere that will give you a analog little computer where you can turn to match the date and the time and shows you exactly what's up. So you can turn it to August the 31st and turn it to 9 p.m. and it's going to show you exactly what's up in the sky where you live for the time you're at. And so a planisphere is always a great thing to do. Now, they don't have a lot of objects on them. Basically, it's got some M objects and a few other things. M being, don't want to assume you know what this is, the Messier Objects. Charles Messier was, back in the 1700s, using telescopes to look for comets. And the things that kept fooling him, he started writing down into a list. He ended up with a list of 110 things. Well, he was in France, so they're all in the visible from the mid-latitudes of, wherever you live.
What's up today?
All the way to the North Pole and down into the southern horizon and all the constellations.
So,
there's all sorts of,
what's in the sky today?
well, today the sun's in the sky, Paul.
Oh my gosh, Kent.
Hey.
Do you guys see what I have to put up with every day?
Everybody out there is laughing. So
No,
Egon
they're not.
is so excited to go to Mount Wilson. Absolutely, Egon. Look forward to renewing our friendship and seeing you there. What's up in the sky? One of the great targets coming up in the evening off to the southeast, is Saturn. And Jupiter is following behind it. So if you stay out for a few hours, you can see Saturn, and then Jupiter starts getting up where you can see Jupiter as well. Andromeda Galaxy is coming up nicely. If you stay up long enough, the Pleiades, the southern Milky Way is still very visible in the night sky after sunset. All sorts of Messier objects to look in that cloud of stars as we look towards the center of the Milky Way. There's all sorts of M objects and other things to look at off to the west as the sun sets. Circumpolar, you've got the objects that are around the Big Dipper in the constellation Ursa Major. You got M81, M82, all sorts of other M objects around, and fairly easy to locate around the Big Dipper as well. But there's a lot up there. There was a picture of the Veil Nebula that we just had up. The Veil Nebula he's just flipping through them so fast. There we go. There's the Veil Nebula coming back up. The Veil Nebula can be seen with under super dark skies in a telescope, and with some filters makes it easier. But it just doesn't look like that in the sky. It looks like, if you remember, think back to cigarette smoke right before it disappears. That's sort of what it looks like in the sky, and very a challenge to see. But under light polluted skies, you're just not going to see it. But if you can find a place, Bortle 2, Bortle 1, absolutely, you can see that up almost straight overhead in the constellation Cygnus. I always think of Cygnus is a swan, right? And when Cygnus is overhead, I think about it migrating south for the winter, because when it's overhead, that signifies that we're typically at the end of August, September. Fall is coming on and birds are beginning to migrate south. And if you look at Cygnus, its long neck stretches out to the south with Albireo as its eye or beak or whatever. Albireo is a great target because...
What the heck is going on?
I don't know. Thank you. This is the Dad Frank. Thank you. I've had a break in my hobbies as of late. Albireo is always a great target to show people because it's a golden star and a blue star right next to each other. It's a double star, so it's always nice to see that in a telescope, and really cool to see that contrasting colors, the bright gold and the vivid blue from that star. There's the Flame Nebula and the Horsehead over near Orion's Nebula. Under the right conditions, you can see that too. A lot of this stuff is visible, but again, you have to have the right filters and be under dark skies. The pictures just really make it look so much more brilliant than it is in the sky. There's a Messier 31, quite a picture from Les Birds right there. Nice shot, really tight shot right there. You can see 3M objects in that picture. What is that, M110? Paul, what is that?
This one?
Yeah.
It's Messier 31.
That's M33.
It says
There we go.
Messier 31.
Okay, M31. I think it said 33.
No.
Okay. So, lots of stuff to look
There's
at up
33. The next one.
Lots of stuff to look at up there.
That's what you were thinking of.
M33 Triangulum Galaxy. I can barely see it from over here. Can't see detail from distances. And it comes up on my monitor about 10 seconds after it shows up on his. Now I can tell what that is from over here. You're seeing the Pleiades right there.
Messier 45.
The Seven Sisters, Messier 45. The nebulosity can be seen under super dark skies, but pictures make it show up astoundingly. And Paul, you got Beatrice up saying M33, and it's not. That was
it's the comments are delayed.
Comments are laid and delayed. Anyway, so
Delayed.
Artemis, Dark Sky Star Party in Oracle, Arizona, Mount Whistling Star Party, all sorts of other things going on as well. Quite the adventure in astronomy. This is the golden age of astronomy. Back in the 70s and early 80s when there wasn't as much light pollution, it would have been nice to have the telescopes and the gear we have today, but alas, that is not going to happen. So, all of you can act on light pollution. There's no reason to shine a light up in the sky. Here's the principles of light pollution in a couple of easy finger points. The right amount of light in the right color at the right place at the right time for the right reason. That's it. Don't need to shine light up in the sky, so anytime ever, except for maybe an airplane landing light and something like that, but there's no need to shine light up in the sky. All that light does is make the sky glow, and when the sky starts glowing, all the faint fuzzies that we love to look at disappear. We've got to come to terms with it as a society and figure out ways to start reversing the process. When we start talking about light pollution, we're not talking about turning on all the lights. We're simply talking about doing the right thing with the lights and shining the light where we need it, not wasting it. You see big cities, skyscrapers, lights on all night long. There's nobody in them. There's no need for those lights to be on. Turn them off. Very simple.
Mike Wiesner has a
Wiesner.
question.
Have you heard anything from Scott about Starmus? I have not. Mike, I saw a post yesterday. He was in, Scott has gone to Starmus, this is the 6th festival. It's an international astronomy, astrophysics, and astronomy event and music festival. It's being held in Yerevan, Armenia this year. It was founded by, I believe, Stephen Hawking and, was it Stephen Hawking? Stephen Hawking and Brian May of Queen fame. And so, and Paul Burkhardt is asking, might Scott do remote broadcast? I believe he's planning on doing that. There are some logistics from that. He did not take his full gear, so it may just be like his cell phone held up or on a tripod and broadcasted that way. But I think he's going to try and do that, yes. It's quite an agenda. He left or Saturday. Friday or Saturday, he gets back here on the 12th. We turn around and we leave the 18th to go to the Arizona Dark Sky Star Party. We get back here like the 27th or 28th and then turn around and go to Mount Wilson. So we shall be on a journey, especially Scott, who's halfway around the world right now. But he's gonna broadcast what he can. If you're see him on Facebook, if you haven't, like the Explore Scientific page, and when he pops up live, you'll see it. But he looked tired from when he was broadcasting in Doha, Qatar, and he was flying from there to Yerevan. So he flied on Qatari Airlines, and he said it was fantastic. He went from, I believe he left from the regional airport here, went to Dallas, and then went Dallas to Doha, and then Doha to Armenia. Quite the journey, and he's going to have a hard time working a whole bunch because he's got lots of stuff to do, but it's going to be cool to see all the sessions that he's going to see. But use your search engine to find Starmus and read up what's going on and who all is going to be there. It is a truly astounding lineup of people on the agenda. I heard where it's going to be next year. Can't remember. I don't want to say. I think I remember, but I'm not positive, so I am not going to say. But lots of astronauts, musicians, biologists, astrophysicists, people just from all spectrum of astronomy and music and art are going to be there. It is going to be really cool to see, what's going on and to see what Scott broadcasts for us so we can join in vicariously on our computers. All right, so
wow,
I think.
a ton.
What'd you say?
So there's a ton.
Oh yeah, there is a ton.
I'm just scrolling through them while you've been talking.
It goes on for like 7 days, and there's 5 or 6 breakout sessions a day, and there's things going on at the same time, and then there's star parties, and astrophotography sessions. I mean, it truly is a massive thing. I don't know how many people are going, but boy, there's a lot of people. That was all of them. There's dozens and dozens of people that Paul just scrolled through right there. So, give you a few seconds. Anybody have a question for me? Jump in. I probably don't know the answer, but I love trying to answer the question for you. Good to see everybody here. If you're out there watching and haven't given a comment, go ahead and give me a comment so I can recognize your presence by name. We love to have this interaction with our family out there all around the world. Trying to think of who we haven't seen. Yeah, there's, pretty good number of people that normally here aren't here, so maybe they're busy or whatever. All right, so I am going to go ahead. Jim Norwood, is that a Ducks Unlimited decoy on the shelf behind you? I don't believe it's a DU decoy. Let's see what it is. It is a beautiful little wood duck decoy. Picked up.
It's not a decoy.
Well, it could be.
It's not.
It's a
It
table
doesn't float.
decoration.
One.
Picked up from the ever popular Hobie Lobie.
Made
Or
in
as some
China.
people pronounce it, Hobby Lobby.
Hey, our clock fell over when you did that.
Did it roll?
Yeah.
Yep. We
Put
had a
it
piece of
back.
tape on it. So over my
It's
shoulder
got
there,
tape
you
on
can
it.
see the Explore Scientific clock
Fix it.
with precision. No,
It's
I'm
driving
not
me
fixing it.
crazy. Fix it.
No, it's
You can fix
it's-
it.
Look, the ducks bent the duck bent the space-time continuum. Its
No, he
presence
didn't.
created a gravity change that caused time to warp in a clockwise fashion around the gravity well created by the wood duck. There you go. And as Jim Norwood accurately says, yes, Jim, decoys can sit on the ground too. You could actually use that as a decoy with no problems. It just looked like a duck sitting on the ground. Absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't work as well.
Absolutely it does.
Doesn't work as well. You can do it, sure.
Paul grew up in the duck capital of the world,
yes.
Stuttgart, Arkansas. If you say again?
I was the junior duck-colored champion once, and I was the junior skeet shooting champion as well. So,
there you go. So
I know a little bit about
Paul,
it.
If you take all the T's out of Stuttgart, what's left?
You?
No. Sugar. For those of you who ever talked on a CB, Stuttgart is known as Sugar Town because you take all the T's out and what you have left is sugar. So there you go. East Arkansas is over in East Arkansas?
No, it's south.
Okay, southeast Arkansas.
More south.
In the Mississippi Flyway, and
it's in the Delta.
Capital
it's in the Delta.
Mike Wiesner. Kent has learned to talk space-time from Dr. Barth. Well, I could talk it before, but Dr. Barth we've had conversations about warping of space-time. I really like that demonstration where you get a big circle, and nothing under it, and stretch lycra or whatever, and then can roll a ball across it, and the ball just goes in a straight line and comes back. But if you put another object over here, it makes it curve, and that shows how space-time, it's an example of how space-time works. You can also do this really cool thing with one of those
so if you go bowling, you don't want to throw your ball until the other person's done, is what you're saying?
Technically, yes, because it is creating some kind of a gravity well. So you can put a ball that represents the Earth and a ball that represents the Moon, and you can demonstrate how Apollo 13 came back with a free return, because you can roll the ball at the Moon, and it'll roll and go around the Moon and come right back to the Earth, almost the exact spot it started from, and that's how the Apollo 13 astronauts got a free return ride without using any fuel. They just looped around the Moon and came back because of the way gravity works and the bending of space-time. So
is there any new developments in the astronomy world, or anything that's coming up that might be interesting? I know Tyler is testing a scope that has interesting features.
Which scope is he testing?
Do you not hear about that?
Probably not say it on the air.
Well,
I mean, I don't know if it's a production secret or not, so don't say it. Tyler's all the time testing stuff. He puts.
I'm trying to give you stuff to talk about, and you're just like, nope, not going to do it.
There's some stuff we don't want to talk about to give away our competitive advantage. We're always testing new products and designing things, and the beautiful thing is you can 3D print a lot of stuff, and it makes testing a whole lot easier to see if things are really going to work the way they should before you move into the design function. I'll tell you what, the new ES Reflect site, Paul, you want to pull that up. It's ES-Reflect is the SKU. We have been selling this thing like hotcakes. It has a reticle on it that's half a degree, 2 degrees, and 4 degrees. It's a zero power finder scope. It comes with a mini dovetail foot on it, so it'll fit on anything that takes the Vixen mini dovetail, or you can put it on your Explore Scientific telescope. The new ones come with the hybrid 2-in-1 finder foot that uses the upside down T foot, that's the Explore Scientific Meade style foot, or the Vixen mini dovetail. You can use that. You can switch out the one on your telescope that you have and put on the hybrid one. That way either device will easily fit on your telescope.
I'm working on it.
Boy, it takes you forever, Paul.
I'm busy.
He's sitting over and lean back and drinking
not drinking, it's closed. It's not even open.
a peach flavored bang
No,
or something
it's
like that.
Bang, and it's called Rainbow Unicorn. So
Rainbow
there.
Unicorn Bang. I was
I
close.
can't. Where
I said
is this
peach.
thing at?
ES-reflect. Search in the search bar, Paul. ES-reflect. And there you go. Its official name is the Reflex Site trademark by Explore Scientific. Could not believe, Paul, that that Reflex Site had not been trademarked by anybody. Just amazing that that was the case. When we were talking about it, I thought, no way. But by golly, it hadn't been trademarked, and we trademarked it. Have you found it yet, Paul?
Yeah, I just got to fight with the browsers and stuff.
He's fighting with himself over there. Anyway, this new finder,
Taste.
a zero power finder, is a great new addition. They're selling by the dozens. They're moving out of here. It's really been a hit product. People love it, and it works. It's really cool. Nice, smooth, Explore Scientific family design.
Is that the one you were talking about?
Yep, that's it. Try and make it look like the DNA of Explore Scientific. Can you get the reticle up? Because the reticle is interesting. Instead of being circles like a typical bullseye reticle is, this has little dots on it. So it's a circle of little dots. There we go. And so you can turn those down really, really dim so that you can see some dimmer stars, or turn it up to where you, if you need to, whatever. The center circle is a half a degree in diameter, which is the diameter of the full moon. Then it's a 2 degree and a 4 degree. So it makes it easier to find things across the sky. There we go, right there. There's a great image of it. And there's an image of it in the heads-up display, taken probably in the daylight. It's, you know, obviously not taken at night, but yet easy to see. Yeah, you got to be able to take a picture of it. So bright enough to where you can see it in the daytime, but dim enough to where you can use it at night and make it really dim. That's the ES Reflect site. All right, so Paul, let's put a fork in this and call this thing a rocket. Let's go launch. Oh, we launched when we started. So anyway, thank you everybody for joining us today here on First Light Chronicles, where we've talked about the Artemis mission as well as the Arizona Dark Sky Star Party, which still time to come to, plenty of room, and the Mount Wilson Star Party. I believe it's October the 7th in Los Angeles, California. It's that Friday. The event is actually on Friday, starts Friday morning like 10 o'clock and goes until midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, and then up the next morning and look at the, go to the Huntington Library. So with that, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to wish y'all a great